Good day, everyone. I am Ruth Gail Merto, or you just can simply call me Gail. So, for today's discussion, I'll be tackling about the most important topic for learners, teachers, and for us future educators. And this is all about self-assessment. So, before anything else, allow me to read the learning objectives first. So the first objective is explain the concept of self-assessment and its importance in promoting personal improvement and achievement growth. The second one is demonstrate the ability to use a self-assessment tool. So later I will introduce to you 8 assessment tools to evaluate your performance or learning processes. The third one is value the significance of self-assessment by showing honesty, openness, and willingness to reflect on their strengths and areas for improvement. So let's define first what is self-assessment. So according to Black P and William D. Research, they define self-assessment as a process where learners evaluate their own work, performance, or learning progress to determine what they already know and what they still need to improve. So the highlight of this definition is what to determine what the learners already know and what are the things or what they still need to improve. So it helps students understand what they already know and what they still need to improve and how they can move forward. So it encourages ownership and responsibility for learning. So there are a lot of self-assessment tools that we can assess ourselves effectively, but I'll discuss these 8 self-assessment tools by Educational Hub 2023 for you to be guided on as yourself. So we will go through each one and see how they guide learners for improvement. Let's proceed to the first assessment tool. So first one is rubrics. So rubrics, these are the list criteria important for the task along with a scale describing levels of achievement. So an example here is a writing rubric with criteria such as clear thesis statement, supporting details, and grammar accuracy, helping students identify areas for improvement. So rubrics is very familiar to us since these are the one that is used by our instructors and teachers to grade our performance. For example, we have an assigned task, essay writing. They will use our rubrics for them to grade our performance or our essay effectively. So for us students, rubrics will help us also in self-assessing ourselves if we use criteria on that particular subject in which you will check there on what are the things you've already know and what are the things that you still have confusion or you need to put much effort to it where you will be aware of yourselves on what particular area you're good at or what are the particular area you're still need for improvement. So now let's proceed to the second self-assessment tool, which is the scripts. So let's read the definition of scripts first. So scripts are structured sequences of specific questions or self-talk prompts guiding learners step by step through a task. So an example here is a step-by-step checklist guiding students through composing a persuasive essay from brainstorming to revising. So scripts is this is just like a outline. For example, you're making an essay, you will have an outline on what are the important details you need to include in your essay so that you will keep on track on your essay or the thought of your essay will be complete or keep in track. So this will help students stay on track when completing complex tasks and allow them to check if they followed all important steps. The third tool is the journals. So learning journals encourage students to regularly reflect on what they have learned, challenges faced, and strategies for improvement. So an example here is daily learning journals where students record what they learned, questions they have, and strategies they use. So in journal, it's more effective or more important if you will use specific notebook for your journals in which you will write there on what are the things you already learned or what are the things that you accomplished in that day and what are the things you have a hard time on comprehend. For example, you have a hard time to comprehend the topic of your kind of particular lesson, then you will put it there and you will also put on what are your realizations and strategies that you will use to become better next time, so that next time you will not fail. So it's just like an self-assessing yourself by writing a journal. So the next tool is portfolio. So portfolios are collections of student work compiled over time to show evidence of learning development. So an example here is a portfolio collecting different drafts of a science report to show improvement over time. So in portfolio tool, you will encourage to have a folder or a portfolio in which you will compile there on what are your outputs and performances that is returned by your teacher. So you will compile your work, and then you will reflect or analyze on what are the things you already know, and what are the things you still need for improvement. So that is the essence of self-assessment. So you will quickly assess yourselves on what are the things you need to improve and what are the things that you already know. So it's just like a quick reflection, or a quick reflections of all of your works that you still need for improvement, and you still need to assess yourself. The next tool is traffic lights. So in traffic lights, you will use colors like green, yellow, and red. So this will help you, or to help your students assess their understanding of different topics. So green indicates confidence. So if you are confident of your learning and you already know the certain topic, so you will use the indicator color green. So if you have some uncertainty, you will use the color yellow, and you will use the indicator color red if you need for more help, or you need for some clarifications of you, or you faced confusion or challenges, or a hard time to comprehend on that certain topic. So this will provide a quick visual feedback. So an example here is students use green, yellow, and red cards to indicate understanding during a lesson on fractions. Next tool is the exit cards. So exit cards, these are the quick reflections of or responses that is written at the end of the lesson, where students self-assess their understanding and highlight areas when they need help with it. So in this exit card, so students will make a note on what are the things they've learned, what are the things they have a confusion in mind, and they will also assess themselves on how to comprehend the topic. So in here, the students will allow themselves to assess themselves on what are the things that they already know, and what are the things that they still need for improvement. So as a future educators or teachers, it is important for us to know if the student really comprehend our topic, so that we also encourage to do exit cards, in which we will give some time for our student to reflect on what are the things they've learned at the end of the lesson. The next tool is paired making. So in paired making, students work in pairs to assess each other's work based on criteria. So an example here is in pairs, students exchange essays and use a simple checklist to provide feedback on clarity and argument strength. So in paired making, so it's very important also to know the advice of other people, because sometimes we can't notice our mistakes, but other people can do. So it's very important also to listen to their advices and comments for us to improve, because I want you to remind that if you want to grow, or if you want to improve yourself, or you want to become a better person, you will open yourself, or you will willingly to receive some advices from other people. So we're down to the last assessment tool. So dedicated improvement and reflection time, or the DIRT. So DIRT is allocated class time focused on students reviewing feedback, self-assessing their work, and making improvements. So this is just like the similar of the exit cards, in which you will be given a time to revise your essays, or to revise your performance, for you to reflect on what are the things that make you made mistakes or errors that you commit. So an example here is class time reversed for students to revise their essays based on teacher and peer feedback. So in DIRT, so the feedback and the comments, advices, or the corrections of the teachers for your essays already there. So you already have time, or the teachers given you have time to reflect on what are the things, or what you commit that makes errors on your essays or at your work. Now we're already done tackling about the 8 self-assessment tools. So the 8 assessment tool are the rubrics, scripts, journals, portfolios, traffic lights, exit cards, paired making, and DRT. So through consistent reflection, learners become more motivated, confident, and aware of how they learn. So it's very important also to assess ourselves so that we will be aware on what techniques or strategies that we will use to improve ourselves. Now, let's move on to the question why self assessment is very important. So, first thing is it allows students to reflect on their understanding of lessons, their skills, and their study habits. So, this process encourages them to be honest and thoughtful about their achievement and shortcomings. So, it promotes improvement mindset where mistakes is taken as opportunities to grow. And the second one, it is not about judging oneself harshly, but about recognizing strengths and identifying opportunities for growth. So it also enhances motivation because students can track their own progress. Importance of self-assessment. So the self-assessment is very important because it promotes ownership since learners take responsibility for their progress instead of relying solely on external feedback. So it also develops an improvement mindset where students view mistakes as opportunities to learn rather than failures. So in self-assessment, you will not use your mistakes as a failure, but you will use it as an opportunity to grow and to become a better version of yourself. And through regular self-assessment, students become more confident, motivated, and aware of their learning habits. So through regular self-assessment, students become more confident, motivated, and aware of their learning habits. For teachers, for teachers and for future educators, self-assessment provides valuable insights into students perceive their learning and what kind of support they might need. So it's important also, like what I've said earlier, that it's important also that we have time to assess our students on what are the things that they need for improvement so that we can offer help for them on or support they might need it. To conclude it all, self-assessment is a crucial learning process that empowers individuals to evaluate their own performance, recognize their strengths and weaknesses, and take responsibility for personal growth. So it fosters metacognition, encouraging learners to think critically about their progress of learning strategies. So before I'll end my discussion, allow me to leave this quote by Peter Drucker. It says, "What gets measured gets improved." So the more you are aware of yourselves on what are the things you're good at, you assess yourselves. Um, you will get improved eventually. So that's all about self-assessment. I hope you've learned something in this video and in my discussion. So that's all. Thank you.